onto our YouTube channel. You can listen and watch us. YouTube.com, search for Smooth 981 FM Lagos. And you can use the chat box to send us a message. Also, you can send us a message on our WhatsApp platform. WhatsApp is 0809 4440981. Right, am I starting with you, Divo? Right, well, let's go. So, the electoral, there's an update on the Electoral Act. INEC to use electronic voting transmission as Senate bows to pressure. Premium Times reports. The Senate has rescinded its decision on some clauses in the Electoral Amendment Bill that was passed in July. One of the clauses is 52, which deals with the methods of voting and collation of results in an election. The Senate yesterday, Tuesday, amended the clause to let the electoral umpire, INEC, determine the use of electronic voting and transfer results. If you recall, Divo, there's been a back and forth since July with regards to electronic voting. For some, for the house, they said, oh, we didn't have the capacity, network wasn't strong enough. There was quite a bit of, not a bit, there was quite a lot of resistance to electronic voting. While on the side of INEC and some of the electorate, it was that it would make it more transparent. It's more difficult to tamper with election results when it's electronic. And it looks like there's a win here. But please, I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Yes, first let's start with titling the headline. Senate's born again resolution. And there wasn't a back and forth. There was a position, which obviously many decried. And all of a sudden, the Senate, goes vote-face, does what they call U-turn, or would some say maybe the spirit of the heavenly God touched them and they decided to stand on the right side of history. Now, what they simply did was they made an amendment or a change in position on where they took a resolve in July. Now, two of the major sections or clauses in contention had to do with the manner in which INEC transmitted the election results. Okay. Now, earlier to this time, they had said that for INEC to carry out electronic voting and transmission of results, that the NCC would have to have a say in it, and also the National Assembly must approve. And obviously, that created two steps within the process. One, it also brought in external parties against the constitutional provision that only INEC could carry out elections. Secondly, they spoke to the issue of political parties carrying out direct primaries for elective positions. Now, let me break this down. Now, remember at that time, majority, it almost looked as if it was like a polarized position whereby most APC members, who were the larger part of the National Assembly, took the position of this of having these inclusions, okay, in terms of e-voting or e-transmission, which basically meant that they were against it, and it looked like as if they stood for corruption or the rigging of results, because we had known up to now how porous elections were and how between the polling booth and the collation center a lot of gymnastics and magic takes place, right? So all of a sudden, they haven't given us details as to why they got born again, but they've decided to stand on the right side of history. And I'm saying this boldly because this was the position of Nigerians, also in terms of efficiencies. Now, the two aspects of that clause 52, and it speaks to allowing INEC to conduct e-voting. Okay, that's a matter of budget and them having the right equipment, and
Yes.
then also e-transmission, which was in case there's no budget for e-voting. Okay, maybe we can continue or conduct e-transmission lawfully, which simply means with everybody present at the polling station, once the results are collated at any polling station with all the agents having signed. If you remember that incident reports that, or the E61, I can't remember the form that they paste on the polling station so that you know the results, that is electronically transmitted
Yeah.
to the collation center, so that if there's ever a wrong announcement, you can contend with it. Now, the clause 87 speaks to political parties having direct primaries for elected positions. And this was hailed by both sides of the divide, both the majority and the minority caucuses, saying that it would strengthen inclusion and democracy. Now, why is this so important? prior to this time, as you know, Nigerian politics is marred by, let's call it the politics of money. It simply means that you spend even far and beyond what is allowed
Yeah.
just to simply win a post. And most times, the candidates who are able to vie are based on the fact, usually those who have money. And never does any country grow well when only people who have wealth are able to get elected positions. So
Absolutely.
here, direct primaries means that everybody within the party must be present at the primary to vote for that candidate. It's
Excellent.
no longer the indirect means whereby they sponsor delegates to a certain small circle, and then you see money moving around just to get them to vote for whoever they had in mind.
All right, thanks, Devo. Good morning, Smooth says Dapo. I was pleasantly surprised at the move by the Senate on the electronic transmission of results. We must slaughter cow. Shegun says, why did PDP kick against direct primaries? I thought they were against godfatherism. Prince says, are there not going to be voting on, or is there not going to be voting in the Senate on this amendment by each senator? I think we should pay attention to this. I don't trust these
No,
politicians.
they have, at this point, they will go for harmonization. They've already taken a position. This is the majority party speaking, and especially at the Senate level, because the House of Reps, the Speaker and the House of Reps were already there. So when they take that position, they'll send it up for presidential assent, and
Assent, yeah.
hopefully
So
it
I
will
think
be
all
signed.
eyes on the president is the hashtag. Yemi from Marina says it is important to state that while all these Senate higgy haga was going on, the electoral body maintained their stance that they have what it takes to transmit results electronically. This is governance, and I dare say this is also independence as well. Demonstrates independence, despite the stance of the federal government and the Senate. They stuck to their guns and said, no, we can do this.
Well, the truth is, they're always subject to the executive. However, they always had the capacity, and they were even doing it before. It was actually wasn't new. We really shouldn't have ever gotten to this point, but you know our
Yeah, but
politics.
that's what he's saying though. That if the chairman of INEC
Mm,
didn't take his stand, if he just agree to whatever they said,
mm.
then we wouldn't be here. The Senate wouldn't we wouldn't be having the born again senators like you mentioned. All right, let's go on to our next story. So it looks like, and how can you say we didn't have good news? Okay, it wasn't you, Divo. We had some good news in the news. It was Brutus that said that earlier. So 19 months to go, Buhari urges ministers to pace up on goals. It looks like people are, let's get this job done. With just 19 months and 2 weeks to finishing his 2 terms of 8 years tenure, President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday directed ministers and permanent secretaries to redouble their efforts and work in synergy towards total delivery of his administration's set target to improve the livelihood of all Nigerians. Esther, is this a good time to evaluate how well the president and his team, that's including ministers and heads of and permanent secretaries of ministries, heads of departments and agencies, how well they have done? And do you think that based on their track record, they're able to meet their set targets by the end of their tenure come 2023?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Lagos, once again. I would say there's never a perfect time to reassess and evaluate performance. So they've not been doing it before. It's a welcome development. But during the conversation, right, at the 2 day retreat that got the presence of the Director General of the World Trade Organization, the president there saying that ministers and MDAs need to ramp up implementation of their mandates along 9 priority areas of his administration. Issues on social investment, security, access and financing for the MSMEs and the likes. He also gave directives to the head of service, informing um, informing them to invest in capacity and strengthening of the planning, research and statistics department in all MDAs. Directed the same Secretary of State government to ensure that quarterly review sessions are being held, right, to assess performance and activities. I think what we really need to understand is that as much as it's very good that you're having this retreat, you're reassessing performance, giving kudos for departments that are working and giving room to do more, ensuring that they complete whatever targets they have prior to the end of this administration. We also need to understand that we're entering into an election cycle.
Okay,
We need to factor 2022
of course.
into the conversation.
Yeah.
We also need to understand to what extent has achievement been done amongst all the different mandate areas. What's the level of progress? What are the challenges? Are there funding implications to ensure that they achieve these set mandates? All those many questions need to be heard. And if you listen to if we read what the DGWTO had stated, She mentioned two key areas: investment costs
Yeah.
as well as security. Those are the major issues the country is currently facing. And in as much as you're telling the ministers to ramp up and ensure that they achieve the set target, where are we with the issues on security? Capital importation trade is declining quarter in, quarter out. What are we doing around policy uncertainty? You're talking about regulatory costs, investment costs. What is the ease of doing business in Nigeria? I
Exactly.
think those that should, if at all they cannot achieve all, I'm sure they cannot achieve all. Because at this time, what I expect them to do, going into an election cycle and a transition in government very soon, they should be closing out a lot of projects, working with contractors to agree on timelines. At most 2022. So if you're here telling your ministers and workers and staff to say we need to ramp up, and you're even proposing new projects, new activities to be done, I do not think that's possible. The conversation should be around what can we do to ensure we close out cleanly all work that we're doing, and what is our scorecard. For me, security and the state of the economy is key.
Yes.
And we
So
are
scorecard
negative.
wise, how would you score this administration as they begin to
Ayo.
tidy things? Oh, no, we have to have this conversation. And I'm not just asking the analysts in the studio, I'm asking all our listeners. On a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being a pass and 1 being or 0 being a fail, 0 to 100, how would you score this administration?
You want to you want to
Okay,
hear
so-
it from our mouth.
Yes,
You
I
want-
want to.
For me, so let me just talk on security.
Please be
for now.
honest. Yes.
I'll be
no,
honest.
just I know it's
So,
difficult to say.
it is.
Because you have to break it down, but because of our time, during Lagos talks, maybe we'll break it down and ask people.
For
to,
me, security. They've done a lot of things in put in place. They talked about rejigging the security architecture. The military have gone on to put a lot of military operation, in North Central and the likes. I'm not seeing the impact.
Okay, so you know what? Since let me narrow it down. So security, economy, health, education. Let's look at those areas. How would you?
Lagos talks in underemployment. Let the people judge.
Judge.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Let me take a few comments, right? From I like what Emma, the illustration she's given. She said, the president's performance review in the last year of his tenure is likened to an undergraduate who started a 4-year course with the aim of graduating with the first class. First, second, and third year he failed, and fourth year he realizes how bad he had performed and now wants to improve things so he can graduate to the first class. My dear, this is impossible. Is the president just waking up? May God deliver Nigeria, Emma says. George says, I will give the administration 20%. Ian says the admin is on a score of -1 out of 100. Onoche goes all the way to -100. George from Okokomaiko says security. These people are making me laugh and I shouldn't laugh. Security, economy, health, education, 0%. Propaganda, 20%. Okay, this is serious business. You people will not make me
It is serious
lose
business.
focus.
It
But
is.
yes, but I keep them coming. I see people, it can't all be -100%.
Well, you asked, so now you're hearing. Let the people speak.
That's what they feel. It's not about what the government is saying. It's about what are you feeling from the government. How's it affecting you, your
Alright.
day-to-day living.
Alright,
We're talking
let's-
about inflation declining.
Yeah.
Your beans is now how much? Beans is now costlier than rice. There's a lot of issues and it's not reflecting in our statistics. So I'm very happy when he told the head of service to work with the various statistic departments, the different MDAs, because we're not sure what kind of numbers we're getting anymore.
Okay, Yemi is a bit more objective. He says, if you consider the government holistically, I would give the administration a 20%, which is as a result of road constructions. We can't say 0. They've done at least some things.
That's
Okay, you
that's
do
an effort if we're using academic results. But let's
Okay.
continue.
All right, let's go on. Senate probes budget office over 19 billion naira payment without approval. Punch. Now, when we talk about set targets, right, which the president spoke about during their midterm review, 2-year midterm review, Devo, one of the things that was a target for this administration was graft.
Yes.
So anti-corruption, and so we all expected, okay, at least as many people expected, that this was going to be the most corrupt-free government, at least post-military rule and new independence. The Senate on Tuesday commenced investigation into alleged illegal payment of 19 billion naira to 4 federal agencies by the Budget Office. Please break this down to us. It said that the officials of the Budget Office did not appear before the Senate Public Accounts Committee.
Yes, not much. However, there's some instructive things here. The Senate began a probe of 19 billion that was paid to 4 agencies via a verbal directive from the DG of the Budget Office in 2015. Now, this was highlighted. The exception came up in the Auditor General's query in 2016. All right. Now, the Budget Office did respond that they're yet to get the details of the query to enable them respond. Now, that's really the story. However, what do we gather from this? From essay story, we're discussing more or less government and administration, okay? Service delivery, as they say in South Africa. You know the question we ask, and you were still asking, are you better off today than you were yesterday?
Yeah.
Based on the promises they gave us, how far have we come? Now, just simply on this, you want to wonder why an exception that was raised in 2016
Yes.
has not been dealt with up till 5 years.
Yes.
This is 2021. Now, how many other things have been hidden or how many other things have not been dealt with? I mean, that's really a poor note on service delivery. And here we're referring to not even the executive. We're talking about the National Assembly, who are meant to be our eyes and ears on what the executive do, representing us and ensuring that Nigerians get the best of the naira or the best of the revenue that the government or the taxes that we pay. 2016 and this is 2021 and they're just looking into the probe. I mean, come on. I mean, how much would have happened in between then and now? Now, remember, service delivery
Yeah.
is the whole purpose of people fighting. You see all this, election that, I won, I didn't win, he rigged, he cheated, what do you call them? Supreme Court governor, all this, he did this one, Agbero came out, etc. It is, you're doing it all in a bid to serve the people.
Yeah.
But here we see that a lot of service is not being done. Nigerians are not generally happy. Okay? Yes, there are a few moves here and there, and we can call it snail speed, but for our true potential, have we really as a government, and this is not about APC or PDP, because remember, while you still have the federal level,
Yes.
you still have the state level with some PDP states, some APC states, some ABGA states. How has service delivery, how has the administration of your elected officials, how far have they gone? Not to talk of the local governments, which is, if there's a grade below E, what have we, how far have we really gone?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a bit late in the day, because you know how the 4 years goes. The first year you're settling down.
Yeah.
The second year is actually when any work gets done. The third year, they've started their plans
Beginning
for
to-
elections. Fourth year, forget it. You're waiting on your new.
So would you say that with this analysis, Divo, I'm about to tread on unstable waters. Would you say that we should extend the term, since 4 years doesn't seem to be quite adequate for a
Well,
government?
yeah, looking for
Remote
trouble.
discipline.
That's why I said let me because
Yeah,
based on what you're saying.
yeah, looking for
No,
trouble.
because based on what you're saying 4 years. They barely have 1 year to really do
It's
work.
because that's why I said the
structure.
purpose of being elected is to be able to serve your people and deliver services and change and improve their quality of life.
All right.
That seems not to be what they do. They seem to get into and maintain a lot of politicking and
Okay.
politricking, and at the end of the day, we don't get what
So
we
how are we going to
expected.
solve that problem? How is it done? How is it managed in other
It's
other
managed
parts
in
of the
other
world?
places by holding your politicians, your leaders who you elect to account.
Mm.
You don't get there just to be able to have a free dance party and continue.
Yeah.
You must talk to your people. Your people must be allowed, just like we're discussing protests in other places.
Yes.
They must be able to check their checks and balances. Just like in school, if you don't pass your exams or your classes, you fail and you repeat.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, I'm not saying the officials should come back. They should be expelled.
Yeah.
And let
Someone said advice to withdraw. That's the comment.
That's
See-
called a recall. That's
Yeah,
also there. But
absolutely.
we, the citizens, have actually failed on our own side to hold our leaders to
Thank
account.
you.
But before
Thank
you
you.
say we failed, at least come on, give us small kudos. We're trying. Snail speed, like you said, but we're trying.
How are we trying?
Now, remember, aside the fact that INEC came out to complain, Nigerians also came out to complain. There are other issues wherein Nigerians have stood their ground to say they think this should not be the case. And we've seen the House of Assembly going back to deliberate on those issues. I think we just need to focus more on that strength and push our leadership. I think that's
All right.
where we're missing
Thank
it.
you very much. Let's quickly move on. I see that. So people have said we should take this scoring to Lagos Stocks 91. I'll leave the comments until then. Federal government eyes $150 billion from non-oil exports. Guardian. I think I'd even borrow Divo's words in terms of, I don't know if I said non-story, but it's a story, but it's come up a number of times and there's no detail to it. But please, essay your thoughts on this.
Okay, so we've always had this conversation around improving and increasing our export numbers. And if we look at import to export for the last quarter, export outweighed import. However, the question still remains, what are we exporting?
Yes.
These non-oil products. Most of the time, we end up exporting raw material without value. We're very lazy. We just get the raw material and we export. And if you look at what we're importing, our end product from these raw materials that we export,
Yeah.
what do we normally export? Last year, we got $74 billion from export, and we exported cocoa beans, sesame seed, cashew nuts. The other products, like palm oil, they were having this conversation around palm oil.
Yes.
A barrel of palm oil is more expensive than a barrel of crude oil. We're naturally endowed with that.
Yes.
Why are we not
We used to be
exploring
the
that?
largest producer in the world.
We're not. We just relied on oil.
Falling off that then. Yeah.
And outside the fact that we're talking about increasing our non-oil export, what infrastructures are you putting in place to
Yes.
achieve that? It's not about saying in the next 10 years. Come, I want to be the president of Nigeria in the next 5 years. What am I doing to ensure I achieve that in the next 5 years? What policies are you putting in place? How are you strengthening at the grassroots level, at the local level, these young raw materials producers and helping them to refine? We have issues around refining our products in Nigeria.
So the question, essay, is
processing.
that having with the evidence on hand, would you say that we're able to meet this target in 10 years?
Ayo, these guys keep giving us incomplete information. We do not have concise details to come up with a detailed analysis.
So you
It's not
don't have
about telling us
confidence.
in the next 10 years. We want to see those kind of stories with details as to
All right.
progress being made, what we're doing, and how do we want to achieve these targets. It's not about saying it. How do you want to achieve it?
They have a
Is the
secret
question.
plan. They will let you
It's not
know
about
soon.
being
So
Ayo
I think
Abeg.
the public sector.
You're trying to work with the private
For
sector.
example, the Africa Free Trade Agreement, okay, is hinged on the fact that every country becomes a market and there's an open door. Nigeria, with the biggest market in terms of 200 million people, is going to get the short side of the stick simply because we have not created the enabling infrastructure to help local industry players build and produce value to be able to export to other places. So while most other people who have done this will now be exporting to us and we will pay for it, okay, we will be on the losing end and there will be a negative trade of balance. This is still the same issue.
And
Thank
sorry,
you.
Ayo,
Yeah.
and mind you, when we closed our borders, we felt that most of these neighboring countries would suffer or come running to Nigeria.
Yeah.
They've created alternative routes. Even seeing less activity in Lagos port with other people going to dock there because it's cheaper, the process is faster, and they use road transportation to bring these products into Nigeria. So even at that point where we had the upper hand, closing our borders have even reduced
Made it worse.
our power.
All right, thank you. Divo, FCTA renews fight against roadside trading on airport road. Guardian reports this that the Federal Capital Territory Administration yesterday has renewed the fight against roadside trading on Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Road, being one of the most strategic gateways to the nation's capital.
Yes, quite an interesting story because you might say that, look, I mean, well, how does this concern me?
Yeah.
But the truth is, you see, the federal capital is your, what do you call it, your face as a nation. It should be, in quotes, the most fascinating place. Yes, Abuja has tried, but the problem is how they maintained it. Now, the FCTA renews its fight against roadside trading along the airport road. And the Maverick chairman, I think many people have seen him now and then, that's Mr. Ikaru Atta, took action to sanitize this with his task force, okay? And as they were going along the road, they said they were dislodging 2 illegal markets, okay, that had cropped up along the road, and also a popular car wash. And they said that these obstructions contribute to the traffic gridlock at peak hours and also deface the environment, given the fact that they became health hazards because some of them were even operating under high tension wires. Now, the 2 issues here, all right? Now, you also see another issue at the state level, okay, and let's call FCT a state in this instance,
Yes.
of service delivery, of governance and administration. This is why we vote them in. Now, what happened to town planning? And when I say town planning in the FCTA, because some of these operators, would I say they are um, uh, uh, criminals? They're not
Yeah.
criminals. The only issue is that they're operating in illegal territories. What has town planning done, along with the FHA and the FCDA, to be able to provide opportunities and locations where people can operate without having to spend an arm and a leg? Remember, these are economic activities. This is the same issue most urban cities in Nigeria face. Number one, Lagos City, okay? You know, we have the issue of street trading, hawking, etc., in all manner of locations. If you go to many areas within Lagos, the market traders literally leave their stalls and
And go
start
to the
encroaching on the street.
Yes.
And if nothing happens, in some places, if you pass Iba, if you're going to after Festac
Going to
or
work
Joe,
by access.
I
you
think they should bring
they
it to
literally
many
Okoko
parts.
Michael,
Yeah.
yes, they literally trade on the streets. You have to horn your way through it. Now the question is, what is town planning in all these city locations doing to provide places for low segment traders to be able to operate in? It's not just building high rise locations
Thank
for
you.
the rich and famous to be able to take a shop and sell their jewelry. This is what is important. This is what we refer to as service delivery, so that each and every one of us can find a law-abiding or legal way of trading our goods and our services and be happy at the end of
Absolutely,
it.
totally agree with you on that. Thank you. Gilbert Musa says, I agree with Devo. Nigerians don't hold leadership accountable and responsible for governance, particularly our local government authority. Essay, customs threaten to impound 29 private jets over import operational offenses. Punch, I'd just like you to touch on this very quickly. Let the
Ayo.
rich sort out their problems.
How
first.
did the jet leave the port when they've not made the right payments? That's the question. Double standards. I don't think
Instead
I'll be
of
able
circumvent the process.
how. It just speaks to our internal processes and why we need to ensure they're as clear as possible. How did they circumvent the process? Through who? Obviously working with internal officials. Who have they brought out to sanction or accuse them of ensuring or providing the means for these guys to circumvent the process? Nothing.
Is there a
And
punishment for the owners of the private jets? Because obviously they
you
must
can
know.
impound it.
Yeah, they impound, they can revoke the license.
Simple.
Many of them, the story came up before, many of them came into the country without paying their full duties, etc., because of the heavy weight
Yeah.
and the use of FX and co. And they got waivers, okay? Now, their waivers were not that they wouldn't pay. Waiver was simply an extension. Okay, if you can't pay now, pay within the next 1 year or 2 years. And some of them have gone beyond. So that's what custom is holding on to.
And they're saying a 14 days ultimatum.
So they let them pay up so that they can take off the 7.5% on gas. That's making our gas go up to 10,000 naira. Let them get their taxes in other ways and tax the rich more.
No, well, it's not even so tax rich. It's just like nobody gives us waivers when we have to pay on what we
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though.
If they've given these people waivers by their influence, etc., then rightfully they need to pay up. And if they're not paying up, customs should not even be putting a newspaper warning.
Yeah.
Customs should act.
Just act.
And I wouldn't want to understand when you talk about commercial jet owners still giving waivers to private jet owners,
Yeah.
Yeah.
private jet owners
I mean,
for their own personal use. If you allow
speak,
the commercial guy, to say, okay, I'm trying to make money, let me get this in, make money, I pay you back. I'm using it for luxury, for my own pleasure, I should be
Would you
able
say
to.
they should release the names of the defaulters? Since
I think at some point they did release a few names, but the question was that many of them were abusing the privileges that they were given.
All right. Okay. We're out of time, but I just want you to comment just one thought on the CBN seeking to bar watch-listed BVN customers from banking services.
Well, it's just CBN acting on compliance and enforcement of those who have run foul of the rudiments of the BVN, that they shouldn't be used as references, neither should they be operating their accounts, or neither should they be as guarantors for other loans. So they're actually just stepping up this and asking the banks to actually comply.
All right. And final one, Zamfara Assembly suspends lawmakers named Ibrahim Tudu Turker and Yusuf Anka for celebrating abduction of Speaker's father.
So I think what I just wanted to say is that just to clear the news out there, they were suspended because they celebrated. However, a member of the House alleged that they are close with the bandits, because most of what's going around is to say people are saying that these guys were suspended because they worked with the bandit, and people are now questioning why would you give them 3 months suspension when you know that that's not the news, guys. The news is that they celebrated the speaker's father's abduction and subsequent death, and
Why would they celebrate the speaker's father's abduction?
it's crazy. That's a different conversation entirely. But let's get that news clear before people start tweeting and saying that why would you give 3 months suspension to someone who works with the
Thanks for
bandit? That has
clarifying
not
that.
been
Thank you.
confirmed.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget, I mentioned that we will be looking at the scorecard of this administration. It might seem a bit premature because they have 1.5 years,
It's
as it
not,
were.
no.
But like we mentioned, let's do our own midterm review, half-term review, as they did their retreat. So join me at 8:10 o'clock, 8:10. That's 10 minutes past 8 to discuss. Big thanks to you, SA and Devo. Thanks for joining me this morning to analyze the stories, and to all our listeners for your comments. See you in 8 minutes.
I think we start treating Nigeria
Thank
like
you.
a private business. So. Because we do retreat every year now. We do scorecard every year. We start treating Nigeria as a private business.
Yeah, but we should though. And I really like the point you made about us. SCI, I do have to agree. Okay, we can talk a bit few